Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum assalam.
Walaikum assalam.
So, brothers and sisters, inshallah, give me a second. Inshallah, we will be covering the second half tonight with the help of Allah on the seventh principle of Hafiz ibn Hibban's book towards those teachings and those practices and habits and skills that will make us, inshallah, successful people and make it possible for us to thrive and, inshallah, progress in our relationships, in our lives, in our careers as Muslims, as the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and inshallah have a blissful, happy life, and more importantly, earn the rida and a good favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world and in the akhirah, inshallah. So the first part was discussed last week in the seventh principle, which was humility. And we still had the second part, which, as you know, Hafiz ibn Hibban brings, many a time he brings the two together, which is the positive principle and then the negative principle. So the inculcation of the positive principle and the awareness and the protection and the defense against its opposite, which is that which is damaging and detrimental and the opposite of everything that is good. So in terms of humility, the opposite, of course, last week we discussed the definitions of humility and how it allows a person to progress and things of that nature. There will be some things overlapping here. We'll try not to overlap too much. And inshallah, we'll try to discuss a few other aspects. And next week we will have the, inshallah, we will do the kahoot of both lessons, inshallah. So in terms of kibr, which is the word which is used, ijtinabul kibr or ijtinabul takabbur, which is, it can be translated in many ways: vanity, pride, arrogance, contempt, to disregard others, to consider oneself superior. Now, off the bat, brothers and sisters, we must understand that this is a very dangerous attitude, and it's a very dangerous, harmful, damaging, and detrimental practice and mindset to have in life. In fact, it's so damaging. We can understand from this hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لا يدخل الجنة من كان في قلبه مثقال حبة من خردل من كبر. That the person who has one atom's weight, one's atom. Now, atom is something we can't even see with an eye. حبة من خردل, the size of a sesame seed, so small. Even that amount of weight of kibr, I am someone, I am something, I know something, I'm a reference, people must know me. Then la yadkhulu jannah, that person will never enter Jannah. Well, the person will not enter Jannah who has one iota of kibr in their hearts. Allahu Akbar. We can just understand from this, brothers and sisters, that as a sickness, as a bad quality, as a bad characteristic, how detrimental and dangerous it is. Nevertheless, more than that, it is a sickness. In fact, it is a sickness which destroys a person. It destroys a person's relationships. It destroys a person's progress in life. A person stops learning, and it leads to losses of all kinds. Losses from the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and all other kinds of losses. In terms of being a very dangerous thing, let us also understand that kibr and pride and glory, majesty belongs only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the creator, He holds all right. Rights are reserved to Allah alone. And no creation, no human being, no angel, no jinn, no nabi, no wali, no shaheed, no anyone, not the biggest knowledgeable person has a right or can claim any pride or any majesty. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this in a hadith Qudsi. He says, Al-kibriya'u ridai. Look at the way Allah explains it. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah has said, Al-kibriya'u ridai. Majesty is my cloak. Wal-'azamatu izari. And grandeur, pride is my cover. فَمَنْ نَازَعَنِي. Whoever disputes with me on this, from any one of the two, I will cast that person into Jahannam and I don't have any concern. Allahu Akbar. So when a person develops this, मैं कुछ हूँ, ananiyat, I am someone, people must listen to me, people must, acknowledge me, or people must look at me, they must know my accomplishments. When as soon as they start going down that path, basically they are how could you say, they are challenging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are challenging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a quality and attribute which is exclusive to Allah alone. Now we know in the hadith where Rasulullah said, تَخَلَّقُوا بِأَخْلَاقِ اللَّهِ, we should adopt some of the qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now what does that mean, qualities? It doesn't mean that we are like Allah, but it means when Allah is compassionate, we should also try to be compassionate. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forgiving, we should also try to be forgiving. We should adopt the beautiful qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and practice on them. But this is one quality, kibriya, azama, the greatness and grandeur, which we cannot duplicate. It can't be copied. That is exclusive only to Allah alone. Allahu Akbar. And not even that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given warnings on the day of Qiyamah. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that the person who walks proudly on this earth, who attracts, who considers himself or herself something in this world, the punishment of that person will be on the day of Qiyamah, that Allah will make them, as the hadith says, they will be raised on the day of Qiyamah, fi suwari dar, like atoms, like nothing. They will be nothing. They will not even be, they will be made into the most smallest size. The same person who walked proudly with his chest out, who adorned himself or herself in such a way to attract attention to themselves, spoke in such a way to impress their greatness on others, and continuously kept that image up, that I am something. On the day of Qiyamah, as a lesson to them, Allah will raise them as atoms. Allahu Akbar. Tata'uhumun nas. And they will not only be there, but they will be on the ground and people will be trampling all over them. لِهَوَانِهِمْ عَلَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى, because of their despicable value in the sight of Allah. They will be of no consideration. This is how dangerous and detrimental it is, that we have to be, careful. I mean, brothers and sisters, what more can we understand from it being dangerous than Iblis, who worshipped Allah for so many years in Jannah, and when he was asked to usjudu li Adam, make sajda to Adam, the first disobedience he done was not murder, it was not zina, it was not ghiba, it was not intoxicants, it was ana khairum min. Why should I am better than him, I am superior than him. Ana khairum min. Because just of that, aba wastakbar, he refused and he became proud and arrogant. Main kuch hu, I am something. because of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him and made a decision for that person to be in the depths of Jahannam and condemned to Jahannam for eternity. Allahu Akbar, for eternity, just on that one thing. And from there, the whole story and the whole journey of Iblis really starts. And his whole promise of taking the whole of man with him to Jahannam. We can just understand from that point how detrimental pride, arrogance, vanity, and contempt is. Allahu Akbar. May Allah protect us. In fact, Nabi alayhi salam mentions also that it's one of the three paths to moral ruin. You know, there are certain things that that if a person brings in their life, perhaps they'll go through difficulties and they'll suffer some loss. But there are certain things which are muhlikat, that are destructive. If a person embarks on those things, that's it, the person loses out and, you know, hits rock bottom. And one of those things, or three of them, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentions, talatum muhlikat. There are three things which are destructive by nature. What are those three things? Shuhum muta, that greediness which is obeyed. That anything that comes in our heart, whatever I want, whatever I feel like, I want. And this is a lesson we should teach our children as well. It's not that my son, my daughter, that anything you are feeling for, you are craving for, you should get instantly. Sometimes you have to sabr, sometimes you can get, sometimes you can't get, sometimes you can get only a small amount of it. This is a great lesson because many of us are growing up or have grown up in this time and age when everything is so instant, you know, instant gratification. Everyone wants things so quickly, and people are just used to pressing a button and things happening instantly. So shuhum muta, to develop this attitude of you know, having you know, whatever you want, having the greed, having such a greediness which you are obeying. Anything that you want, you just go for it, and you want it no matter what. This is a dangerous thing. It's destructive. The second thing Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, وَهُوَ مُتَّبَعٌ, such desires and temptations which we follow. Whatever we are, you know, whatever tempts us, whatever we are craving for, we go for. Which is similar to the greediness, but of a different, you know, explanation, a bit more deeper, a bit more encompassing. And then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said the third one, وَإِعْجَابُ الْمَرْءِ بِنَفْسِهِ, the third most destructive thing. Now, what is destruction, brothers and sisters? The destruction is no matter what happens after that, nobody can save us. No matter what we are told, or no matter how much, you know, whatever happens after that, it's very difficult for us to see the light of day, to see reason, to understand. And what's the third thing? When a person starts considering themselves, they start, you know, idealizing themselves, where they self-praise and they build this fantasy around themselves. وَإِعْجَابُ الْمَرْءِ, where a person self-admires, you know, self-admiration. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said to admire yourself. This in itself is muhlikat. May Allah protect us from that case and that situation where we are then blinded to guidance, we are blinded to many things. As we said there, that this attitude leads to the loss of favors. This actually leads to physical, real loss of favors, and it leads to situations where we lose around us, and we'll come back to that. But I'll just give you one example of this. One person was one day eating with his left hand in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Nabi alayhi salatu wasallam advised him and said, "Kul biyaminik, eat with your right hand." So he said, "La astati', I can't eat with my right hand." And he, you know, the way he said it and the manner in which he said it, he was giving Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam attitude. You know, why are you telling me? Why are you telling me? I know what I need to do, and don't tell me what to do, and I can't do it. And if you remember, brothers and sisters, there are two definitions of pride we discussed last week: arrogance. One definition is to consider yourself better than others, superior to others in whatever favor you have. And the second is to reject the truth, to reject advice, to reject guidance when it is given to you and you know it is the truth, but to reject it because you feel yourself above it. That if I'm going to accept, that means I have to lower. To accept the truth, you have to lower yourself. But if you find it difficult and you refuse to accept the truth, that is mean the pride is stopping you. And this is what happened to this person. He said, last, I can't. When he did this, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, Lan tastata. You will never be able to. You will never be able to eat. And the Rawi and the narrator of the hadith said, I saw this man in later years of his life that he could not bring his right hand to his mouth. He had almost become paralyzed in that hand. And this was the bad-dua of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is a typical or a very specific example of how arrogance and pride leads to the loss of favors. And not only that, it leads to the loss of other favors. Allah says, وَمَنْ كَفَرَ مَنْ شَكَرَ وَمَنْ يَشْكُرُ فَإِنَّمَا يَشْكُرُ لِنَفْسِهِ. Or وَمَنْ شَكَرَ, what is the ayah? The one who shows shukr, لَإِنْ شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you show gratitude to Allah and you are humble and you are you are appreciative to Allah and what He is giving you, and you use those things with humility and you share, Allah will grant you more. وَلَئِن كَفَرْتُمْ. But if you reject the favors of Allah, and if you let pride and arrogance enter your heart, inna adhabi lashadid, then my punishment is also severe. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts taking the favors away from the person. And may Allah protect us from that. So that brings us to the next point, which is that arrogance closes doors. Now, number one, the first door that it closes, brothers and sisters, is the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now remember, arrogance, as you could understood from our first slide, is that it is a hated, all sin are hated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? All sin are hated, all spiritual illnesses and diseases are disliked by Allah. But when it comes to arrogance, it is one of those up there where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a particular dislike for it. And we explained the hadith where this belongs only, it's exclusive to Allah alone. And if someone tries to take that, let's use an example, right? If the king is there and he sees somebody coming and sitting on his throne, wearing his crown and acting as though he is the king, and showing off and boasting and bragging. And in actual fact, he doesn't have any of the skills of the king, the position of the king, the status of the king, the knowledge of the king, the abilities of the king. He is a nobody basically, and he's just putting up a big act. That the king would not only, bring him down from there, but will disgrace him and perhaps even charge him for treason and perhaps even having beheaded. How could you impersonate the king? This now, brothers and sisters, we are talking of the King of Kings, Malikul Mulk Dhul Jalali wal Ikram, who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is saying Al-Kibriya ridai wal azamatu izari, that this is only worthy, I am only worthy of this. So Allah says in the Quran, when it comes to the arrogant, كَذَلِكَ يَطْبَعُ اللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ قَلْبِ مُتَكَبِّرٍ جَبَّارٍ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala seals the hearts of those who have pride. That when you have pride, the guidance of Allah, a person then no more gets guidance. A person, all the progress in life stops. A person, there's almost as though a parda and hijab and a covering is put over the mind and heart and iman and the eyes of this person. Allahu Akbar. You can understand why Hafiz ibn Hibban has brought this principle in this book, which is discussing a wise person. If a wise person really wants to progress in life, and get not only in life, but get the good favor of Allah and have the best opportunities in akhirah, that person would be very careful not, or keep a check on themselves all the time, that they do not allow arrogance to creep into their life and become a habit or a way of a way of life for them. Because once the guidance of Allah stops, then it's only downhill from there. There's nothing there. A person is living in a fantasy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, سَأَصْرِفُ عَنْ آيَاتِيَ الَّذِينَ يَتَكَبَّرُونَ. I remove the signs, the knowledge of سَأَصْرِفُ عَنْ I remove the signs of knowledge of Quran, of Sharia, of Deen, of goodness from those who have pride. From those who have pride. And we've seen it, subhanallah, in the Quran. We have Qarun, we have Fir'aun, we have Abu Jahl, we have Abu Lahab, we have all the enemies of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who are mentioned, Haman, that how when they came into ghurur and pride, how Allah sealed their hearts and sealed their minds. That although they had worldly power at the time, but yet they were zalil, they were disgraced, and they were valueless in the sight of Allah. And not only that, for eternity. Allah says in regards to Fir'aun, that we will not only disgrace you, but we will keep your body. Allahu Akbar. Look at this. This is one of the mu'jizas of the Quran and the miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the body of Fir'aun was not even accepted by the sea, and it remains intact until today as a living testimony, that if a person exercises pride and becomes proud, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will destroy that person, and he will lose everything from the things of this world and in the hereafter. Number two, knowledge. Now, brothers and sisters, many of us are here, mashallah, we are either teaching or learning and things like this. Knowledge, brothers and sisters, is one of those things where a person is always progressing. If we see ourselves as lifelong learners, inshallah, we will always benefit, always grow, we will always learn from those around us, we will always be humble and have put ourselves down in front of someone and say, teach me, tell me, guide me, and we will always learn and we will always progress. But when a person feels, I know that, there's a beautiful saying that the one who does not know and thinks he knows, he is an arrogant person. Stay away from him. The one who does not know, but thinks he knows. He does not know, but thinks he knows. He is an arrogant person. Stay away from him. Whenever arrogance takes over a person, pride takes over a person, that means another door that closes is a door of education and a door of knowledge and a door of learning. A person doesn't progress anymore, and a person remains stagnant in where they are. And the last thing is actually generally the goodwill. They lose the goodwill of people. It's just people, as we did yesterday, they might just keep face in front of them, but in actual fact they have no value for them, really. And Imam Ghazali rahimahullah brings a paragraph which I would just like to share with you. That how he closes the door and goodwill of others. وَالْكِبْرُ وَعِزَّةُ النَّفْسِ يُغْلِقُ تِلْكَ الْأَبْوَابِ كُلِّهَا. That pride and self-ego closes all doors. How? لِأَنَّهُ لَا يَقْدِرُ عَلَىٰ أَن يُحِبَّ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ مَا يُحِبُّ لِنَفْسِهِ. Because a person now cannot love for others what he loves for himself. Why? Because it's all about him or her. Because in that is ego. وَلَا يَقْدِرُ عَلَى التَّوَاضُ وَهُوَ رَأْسُ أَخْلَاقِ الْمُتَّقِينَ. And now he is incapable of humbling himself, serving others, because again, that is to put himself down, and that is the opposite of pride. وَلَا يَقْدِرُ عَلَى تَرْكِ الْحِقْدِ وَفِيهِ الْعِزِّ. And now he can't leave this bad habit of holding grudges and malice in his heart. Why? Because he's only holding malice and grudges in his heart because he feels he's got self-importance. If he was humble, if he was down to earth, he would have been able to forgive and forget, or at least forgive. وَلَا يَقْدِرُ أَن يَدُومَ عَلَى الصِّدْقِ وَفِيهِ الْعِزِّ. And now it is difficult for that person to remain on truth. They can't speak truth all the time. Because why? They have to always protect their ego and create a facade around them and create a picture around themselves. So whatever it takes for me to maintain my respect and my dignity and my this whole the way I can thrill people, or the way I can create a thought around a picture around me, then I will do it. So this is how it closes the doors of so many things. وَلَا يَقْدِرُ عَلَى تَرْكِ الْغَضَبِ. It stops a person from staying away from anger, because anger is a way a person exercises and impresses and expresses their importance. وَلَا يَقْدِرُ عَلَى كَظْمِ الْغَيْظِ. It becomes difficult to suppress and swallow the anger. And it becomes difficult to leave jealousy, because a person is jealous on others because he feels he's better than others. And why do others have and he does not have? وَلَا يَقْدِرُ عَلَى النُّصْحِ اللَّطِيفِ. Allahu Akbar. And when he advises, he can't advise kindly, softly, with tolerance, with kindness. He only advises with harshness. So again, that door is closed. He puts himself or herself into such a position, an unfortunate, worrisome position, which closes so many good doors around them. وَلَا يَقْدِرُ عَلَى قَبُولِ النَّصْحِ. And he can't accept any advice which is given to them as well. وَلَا يَسْلِمُ. Right. So subhanallah, you've just seen Imam Ghazali rahimahullah in 100, in the 1000s of history, what he mentioned and what he brought out of regarding this aspect of closing the doors. This, brothers and sisters, is from the book Ihya Ulumuddin of Imam Ghazali rahimahullah. I believe there is the English also available in that. If you can find a good copy, it is really a book worth keeping in your reading. It has, mashallah, beautiful advices broken down into topics and broken down into sections. And Imam Ghazali rahimahullah is regarded to be one of our mujaddids and of the Islamic history, and a very knowledgeable, deep person, a great teacher of Islam and Deen. Really, if you can get, inshallah, invest, or even if you get a PDF copy, keep this in your reading, Ihya Ulumuddin. You will gain many gems and many treasures that will just help you develop your character, develop your relationship, develop your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. And it's very beautifully put, inshallah. So that is how he explains how we lose the goodwill of others as well. Now, if a person is jealous of others, he's always angry, that person is always, holding grudges, that person, what kind of a life will that person lead? Slowly but surely, people will start drifting away from that person. His own family members will start, keeping away from him to protect themselves from the venom which is kept within that arrogance which is there deep-seated in the heart. And the person starts losing out on so many successes, and not even in their own personal relationships, but at work, so many opportunities, dunyawi opportunities also are missed when a person displays this kind of habits and this kind of character. And may Allah protect us. The causes. Now, Imam Ghazali rahimahullah speaks about the causes as well. Inshallah, I won't spend too much on this. I'll just mention a few of them and mention one point on each. The first and most important, he brings number one, brothers and sisters, is knowledge. Really, you'll be surprised on this, that knowledge, he says, is one of the greatest things that leads a person to pride and arrogance. Knowledge. Allahu Akbar. We might have thought that knowledge of Islam, knowledge of Deen, being involved in teaching and learning Quran and Hadith is actually a way which we can, gain humility. But he says that's one of the major ways of getting pride. And he says it's very difficult to treat this kind of pride, because he says knowledge is something which is not only respected by people, because you get some aspects. For example, let's take beauty. With number 4, beauty, some of the culture, some people, or wealth, they idealize wealth, and wealth is made to seem like the most important thing. And if someone's got a certain bracket of car, certain bracket of house, certain bracket of job, certain bracket of clothes they wear, then that person is respectable and honorable. And if you don't have that, then you're inferior. But that's only in the minds of the world and the minds of some people. And generally, the Quran, the Hadith, and those who are religiously conscious understand that that's not what really life is. Even those who are not religiously conscious, even they might not be Muslims, but they are deep people. They are wise people in the sense of they have understanding and a certain level of understanding. They know that life is not just about money and looks. There's more to it than that. But when it comes to knowledge, because knowledge is something praiseworthy in the Quran, it is something of value to Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to the people as well. That's why it becomes a little bit more tricky. And Imam Ghazali rahimahullah mentions a person on the path of knowledge should always keep a specific check on themselves, never to gain of let that feeling creep into themselves that, you know what, I have some knowledge, I know how to read Quran. This person can't even read Quran. Or I am spending my days and my nights in learning and teaching. And what are these people doing? They are busy on social media and they are wasting their time doing that and this and that. I'm better than them, and they are worse off than me. No, I mean, as a matter of shukr, to say to Allah, Allah, you have given me the opportunity to be involved in learning of knowledge, in teaching of knowledge. I'm grateful for this. This will bring humility. If you remember last week's lesson, when we think of the favor, the credit go back to Allah. It's not me. It's not my knowledge. It's not my time I'm giving. It's not my capacity. This is the kindness of Allah on me. Allah is allowing me to do this. Allah has blessed me with this. Allah has blessed me with this favor. And the more shukr I show to Allah for this, the more humble I am, the more I benefit others, the more Allah will increase me. This, he mentions that knowledge is one of the reasons and causes of creating pride and arrogance. The next one is religious service. And I mentioned it last week as well. And again, this is a strange one, where a person, the more good deeds you do, the more ibadat you do, the more hajj you go for, the more sadaqah you give, you wear hijab perhaps, you dress modestly perhaps, you are very particular about the halal food you eat. Now when you hear your friend, they're not so particular about halal food, to feel concern is good. To go home, make dua for them, have concern of them. Ya Allah, please guide them to the importance of halal and haram and dressing. That is good. But to allow that to creep in you, that, you know what, I'm at least I do this. I mean, what kind of people they are? You think low of them. To think low of them is a sin. What you are doing is a good deed, but you are washing all the benefit, all the barakah, all the rewards of those good deeds away by letting those good deeds generate a feeling of superiority in your mind that you are better than others. And all of that is going to waste. And this is explained by this story of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, that one day he was walking with a group of some of his disciples and a few other people, and they passed by a ravine kind of a place, and there was as you would say, a social dropout who was sitting there on the ravine on one of the rocks. He was a drunkard, alcoholic, thief. He would break into houses and lived a very mean life, very a dog's life he lived. And when he saw Isa alayhi salatu wasalam passing with this group of knowledgeable people, and you could see the nur of ilm and Quran and hidayat and iman on there, and with waqar and dignity, and he was very impressed. And a thought came into his mind when he saw these people. He said, how lucky these people are. I mean, what a beautiful life they are leading. If only I had a life like this. If only I had a life like this. And they went, and he thought that good thought. And there was one person in Isa alayhi salam's group who turned around and saw this person and looked at him with this eye of disgust. Who is this? What kind of a person is this? A druggy, filthy person. What a low person he is. He's not worth anything. And he thought really low of him. Immediately Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent revelation to Isa alayhi salatu wasalam that call these two people and tell the one from your group tell both of them that they should start new lives. Tell both of them they should start a new leaf. And what does this mean? Tell the one who was a disobedient servant of ours, because of his humility and because of looking and hoping for the mercy of Allah and always, looking up, we have forgiven all his sins. And now he should start his life, new, fresh life, and in our ibadat and in our obedience. And tell the other one, the one who is part of your group, that because of his contempt of this person and thinking low of him, we have wiped out all his good deeds. His good deeds have been washed away. All that good deeds with the Nabi he was with you have been washed away, just because of his contempt of that person. Because who are we? These are the servants of Allah. We have washed his good deeds off, and now he should also start his life new, with no good deeds in it, fresh, from zero, square one. And this is an explanation of this aspect of what religious service, if that also is not kept in check. That, Ya Allah, and again, going to last week's lesson, to remember the two things to keep us in check. Number one, the favors of Allah. If I'm doing some good deed, Ya Allah, this is your favor on me. And the second thing is, Ya Allah, my sins are so many. My sins are so many. I can just hope that this little bit good deed I'm doing, inshallah, my sins, at least my sins can be forgiven through it. At least my sins can be forgiven through it. So to focus on those aspects, inshallah, will give a person that guidance they need. Number three, family lineage, color. Look, Islam came to wipe out all of this. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said in Hajjatul Wida, now this whole Black Lives Matters. The world is still struggling with this after so many years. Hundreds and thousands of years have passed by. We are in time and the age of technology and advancement, and we have conquered the moon, but still people are struggling with treating each other equally. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came 1441 years ago, and he said, everything of Jahiliyyah is under my feet now. There is no honor for an Arab over a non-Arab, or a white over a black, or a red over a yellow, except with righteousness. The one who is righteous, that is the one closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, you will stand in a saf, rich, poor, black, white, young, old, the CEO, the street cleaner. You will stand in one row, shoulder by shoulder, in front of your Rabb as equals. This is what Islam came to teach. It is mentioned about a Sahabi Abu Dharr, very great Sahabi. One day he went into a difference of opinion he had with Bilal radiallahu anh, and it just came out, oh son of a black woman. And immediately when he said it, Bilal radiallahu anhu said, I'm going to tell Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about this. Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu said, please forgive me. It was something that it just slipped out, and please let me know. Please forgive me. And in fact, Abu Dharr said, he put his head on the ground, Abu Dharr, and he said, I will only accept if you have said you have forgiven me, I will only accept it if you rub your foot on my head and rub my face into the sand because of the what I have said, what a bad thing it is. Bilal radiallahu anhu said, no, I will tell Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he went to inform Nabi alayhi salam. When Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam heard of this, he called Abu Dhar. And he told Abu Dhar, it seems that you still have in you the aspects of jahiliyyah, ignorance in you. Now, brothers and sisters, we need to assess ourselves when it comes to speaking about our family, lineage, our colors, our cuisine, our cultures. Sometimes in the country, one country we live, and we, create, differences between this area and that area, and this, tribe and that tribe, and this family and that family. This one is better than that one because of this. We have this, we have that. Allahu Akbar. Yes, if it is for something of good, like the Aus and Khazraj, the two tribes of Medina one day stood and they were saying who is better. But what were they saying? They were saying, we have, one of them would say, we have Sa'ad bin Mu'adh radiallahu an, such a person who the angels washed his body when he was martyred. And then the other one said, we have this person and we have this person. They were establishing their honor over each other in matters of deen. Let us also, inshallah, clear our minds and clear our hearts of these things of ignorance and protect and be aware. Sometimes they creep in, and as soon as it comes out of our mouth, just be aware what is being said, what is being uttered, and retract and reel ourselves in and understand what we are saying. Of course, beauty and wealth, each one of this. Imam Ghazali, by the way, Ihya Ulumuddin, there's a beautiful write-up on these things, on how they become causes, and how we can find the cure and prescriptions and defense against each one of these things, and what kind of mindset we should have in. It goes through a few pages. It's just too much for us to discuss here now. So please do some of that reading on your own. Ihya Ulumuddin, on the aspect of pride and self-praise. It comes under the topic of pride and self-praise. In terms of beauty, just one point. Whenever we see ourselves in the mirror, just always say this hadith or this dua: Allahumma anta hassanta khalqi fa hassin khuluqi. Oh Allah, you have beautified my exterior, my physical appearance. Now you beautify my character and my akhlaq also. And remember that these are the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on us, inshallah. So Imam Ghazali also mentions two defenses. Sorry, I'll just stop sharing. I think I've shared the wrong page. Okay. Yes. Treatment of pride, the mental defense. So there's a mental, academic, ilmi defense, mental defense, and there's a practical defense. The mental defense, Hafiz ibn Hibban speaks about in his book, and Imam Ghazali speaks about it in his book, Ihya Ulumuddin. They mention that we as human beings should often remind ourselves of three things. What is our origin? What is our current state? And what is our end result? Very simply put, our origin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says himself that mimma mahin. What has made insan so much of ghurur and rejecter? Min ayyi shay'in khalaqa. Doesn't he think of what is his origin? What has he been created from? He goes around feeling so proud, so arrogant. What is the substance of his origin? Min nutfatin khalaqahu faqaddara. And another ayah, min ma'in mahin, from an impure drop of liquid, an impure, filthy drop of liquid. This is the origin of man, of human beings. This is where Allah has kept our creation from. Allahu Akbar. Really, it's a very, very potent aspect. If a person contemplates and meditates on this point, that what is my origin? I might think I know something now. I might look at myself and become impressed with what I see in the mirror. I might put on a nice piece of clothes and I might feel like I'm something. I might drive a nice car and I might think low of others. I might learn a few things and I might think I have some knowledge. But who am I in my essence? Who am I? Where have I come from? Allahu Akbar. I'm created from that drop of liquid that if it fell on a piece of cloth or clothes, it's regarded as impure and dirty and it needs to be washed. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah. The origin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, another ayah says, هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا. That does not insan think that there was a time when there was no mention. There was no mention of them even. They didn't have any name even. There was no name, that they did not exist. And then through the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they came into this world. Then they were given a name. Then Allah granted them parents. Then those parents guided them. And then they went and they studied something and learned. And then they grew up. And then they started, earning. And then Allah opened the rizq for them. And then Allah started blessing them. Now they have reached the time where they have forgotten all of that, the favors of Allah, and they have turned to themselves that we are something, ar-ra'ahu istaghna, that we are independent, we don't need anyone, we are all fine, we don't need Allah, we don't need anyone, we are self-sufficient in that sense. So that's the origin. The current state, we are always brothers and sisters. At every point in time we are in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the end result is Allahu Akbar, wa akhiruhu jifatun adira, that we will be a stinking, decaying corpse, rotting corpse, that after a person passes away, and these are the realities of life, that the children, the same children who have hugged and kissed those parents and told those parents, we love you and we will do anything for you, they cannot fast enough place their parents into the ground and cover their parents up. Why? They know if this body stays out too long, it will start rotting away, it will start stinking, it will create a bad odor, and it will become unbearable. This is the reality, the origin, the current state. The current state, that poem says that the origin is a nutfa, an impure drop of water, and current state is a person has in them impurities all the time, blood, pus, stool, and all of that is within the body of a human being at any one time. So what right do I have to go around and express my superiority over others? What is there in me? How pure am I really for me to go around and act in a Lord kind of a way and speak down to people, regard others less than me? And this is that mental defense a person can meditate on, think about, and this will bring down all those grandiose thoughts and ideas and fantasies and bring us down to earth. Number two, the practical defense, the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How Nabi alayhi salatu wasallam ate. He sat up and ate. He never reclined and ate. How he dressed. And this is also a good point I missed out, brothers and sisters. The question comes to our mind, and it came to the Sahaba's mind as well. Does this mean that we should not dress nicely? I shouldn't wear nice perfume, or I shouldn't, buy nice. If I like something, if I like a certain kind of car, does that mean I shouldn't buy that kind of car? It's going to create pride in my heart? No. A Sahabi asked Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam this, that what is it? What if I like to wear nice clothes? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Inna Allah jamilun yuhibbul jamal. Allah is beautiful and Allah loves beauty. That no, as an insan, as a human being, as a mu'min, if Allah has blessed you with some rizq, and by habit you like good quality things, and you like to, you like to wear nice clothes, by all means wear those nice clothes. But don't let those clothes become a cause of pride entering your heart. Don't let that car become a cause of pride entering your heart, which it can. It's based on your intention all the time. It's based on your intention all the time. And Imam Ghazali mentions this as well. He says a good test of this of the intention is that what kind of, if I'm not in the public eye, how do I dress? What kind of clothes? How clean am I really, or how particular am I in terms of what I say I want? When I need to test my public life and my private life. Am I only using those items or those things in my public life to show, as a certain kind of image which I'm portraying, which I'm putting out there? Then I need to know, as we say, dal mein kuch khal hai. I think so, like that. Yes, there's some fishy business. There's something wrong there with the niyyah. That why am I doing it? I need to ask myself that. But in essence, if I'm buying something which is of good quality, because I'm going to use it not because of a status symbol, not because of the brand, but because it's a good quality car, for example, or it's a good quality phone, or it's a good quality piece of clothing, and I like, and it's going to last me, then that's fine, inshallah. As long as, again, I don't look down at others, and I keep a check on all the other aspects of my life. How, and that's the bottom part there. Do I serve others, or do I like to be served? Do I like to be waited upon? People should greet me first. I don't like anyone to tell me anything. If I made a mistake, if anyone corrects me, I get very upset. I get annoyed. I become argumentative. I reject. I say no. I make excuses for my mistakes instead of thanking the person, accepting them, accepting what they say. Ali radiallahu anhu used to say beautifully. He says, if a person teaches me one word, I will become a slave to that person. Now that person, if that person wants to free me, they can free me, or if they want to keep me in their service, I'm ready for that. Meaning that's the honor of somebody who's showing me the right thing, who is guiding me. Now I need to check myself all the time. Do I have these qualities in me? And to practical defense, if I want to maintain humility, then I must create these things in my life. See myself as a lifelong learner. I want to learn from anyone and everyone. I want to learn from those younger than me, from those older than me. I want to learn from those who have life experience. I might have a degree in this, but I can learn from my grandma, perhaps, who spent her whole life in the village, for example. But she can teach me things that no degree, no university, no book can teach me. And I have that kind of mentality that I can sit with a child and try to talk to the child and get questions from the child and ask and see what I can learn from this child and from this young person. That I see myself as a lifelong learner. I'm always looking. If somebody tells me something, corrects me, I take it in, I assess it, I observe it. Is there something for me to learn in this? Is this constructive criticism? How can I become better through this guidance or through this aspect that I have been told about? Number two, always serve others. Wherever we have an opportunity to serve. Help around the house, help, whenever we are outside, open the door for someone, always be there in that capacity of serving. And if you remember last week, we spoke about that example of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, how he also wanted some responsibility of doing something, that although he was the Nabi of Allah, to be there first to serve. It's very famously said about all the Khalifas, that they would go do their own shopping, they would carry the groceries on their backs, and they would go and serve those in need specifically. There's one example of Ibn Umar radiallahu anh, Umar bin Abdul Aziz rahimahullah, that he was busy with some official work and there was a guest there. And the oil in the lamp was coming to an end. So the guest said, let me go and get some oil for you. So Umar bin Abdul Aziz said, no, it is not a good etiquette for a host to make his guest work. You sit, I will get it. He said, no, let me call the servant. Umar bin Abdul Aziz said, he has just gone to sleep now. It won't be right to wake him up. He's had a hard day, let me get it. So he went and he got it and he filled the oil. So the guest was surprised. He said, oh, Khalifatul Muslimin, you are running a whole empire, but you are filling your own oil? He said, well, I was Umar bin Abdul Aziz before I filled the oil, and I will be still that same Umar bin Abdul Aziz after I fill the oil. There is no difference in me doing the work or not doing the work. This is that aspect of serving ourselves, serving others, always putting ourselves there and keeping ourselves humble through that. And one aspect which is mentioned in the hadith is of that aspect of making salam first, always looking for opportunity to greet others first and not waiting for others to greet us. In fact, the hadith mentions the one who makes salam first is free from pride. And brothers and sisters, I got 2 more slides left, and I'm seeing it's 9 o'clock, but inshallah, I'll just ask you to bear with me for a few more minutes and we complete this inshallah. There is an interesting question people ask. So what is the difference between arrogance and confidence then? So is Islam teaching us to, suppress ourselves so far down that we shouldn't, express ourselves, or we shouldn't, look for opportunity, or we shouldn't, put ourselves out there? Is that what Islam is saying? No, not at all. Arrogance is something else and confidence is something else. And there are basically 2 major aspects which are signs which separate the two. When it comes to arrogance, it's the all-knowing attitude that I know everything. There's nothing no one can teach me. I know everything. And you'll find this kind of, if you see yourself talking about these things a lot, that, I did this, and this word I, and there's nothing that anyone can tell me now that I don't know. And even if something is mentioned, oh no, we know about this, or we did this, or we went there. So that's the all-knowing attitude. Whereas the lifelong learner is the attitude of confidence. The arrogant attitude is the all-knowing attitude, and the attitude of the confident person is lifelong learner. He puts himself out there to learn as much as possible, and he's confident to put himself in any situation to grow, not to be there as I said earlier, to preside over others. No, he's there to learn, to progress, and to learn new skills and grow as much as possible. And this is lifelong. The second major difference between arrogance and confidence is that arrogance is the I attitude. It's all about me. Everything should be focused towards me. All attention should be towards me. All discussion should come and end at me. I should have the final word. Whereas in the confidence and the attitude, the confident attitude is the we attitude. That the person is there, and you in a group of friends, when we're sitting and discussing with friends and family, when we meet, and somebody is talking about, I'm putting up my auntie, and I'm putting up my cousin, and I'm making them feel good about themselves, and I'm motivating this one. It's about us, we. And it's not about me. It's about we. That's the difference between arrogance and confidence. And the two they stem from 2 different internal premises and 2 different internal aspects. And that is that the arrogant person is insecure about themselves. That's why they try to fill those gaps of insecurity by, trying to control everything, trying to create a certain persona and a certain image in which people can, wow them. Whereas the confident person is someone who believes in their self-worth. They know, Alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed me with this. I know this, I know that, Alhamdulillah. And there's no need for anyone to, recognize me, and they know their own self-worth. And because of that, they don't brag, they don't boast, and they are fairly confident about their own abilities. And I'll just repeat this: the arrogant know it all and will go to any length to prove themselves right. That's the aspect of argumentation. While the confident person is the opposite of that. He's the lifelong learner. Number two, the arrogant person always likes to talk about himself or herself. Conversely, the confident person may shine a light on others' achievements, and basically get everybody involved, motivate others, praise others. And that's the confident person. You don't have a problem with praising others, with giving others the limelight, with encouraging others. And this is where each one of us again should assess our own selves and observe ourselves to understand where we are and where we need to get, inshallah. And as I said, perhaps the most fundamental difference is that arrogance is often masked by insecurity. That's why arrogant people are generally boastful about their achievements and abilities while trying to make others feel small. And confident people, on the other hand, this confidence stems from the true self-worth, a belief and pride in your achievements and abilities, and there is self-assurance and inner calm. A confident person shows composure and does not brag and does not feel the necessity to show themselves superior to others. Does not feel the need to show themselves superior to others because they are sure of themselves. This is basically the aspect of arrogance and confidence, and what Islam and what Sharia discourages and warns against is arrogance and not confidence. And may Allah grant us that attitude of a mu'min, where Abdullah bin Rawaha radiallahu anhu said that mu'min is that person, la yastawi yawmahu, that his 2 days are not equal. The 2 days of a mu'min are not equal. In fact, he says that person whose 2 days are equal in terms of progress, in terms of learning, in terms of success, in terms of moving forward, that person is maghboon. He is in a fantasy land. He has deceived himself. And I really like this quote, and I added it here to explain this, this quote of Abdullah bin Rawaha, which I just told you, that no mu'min, that the one whose 2 days is the same is in deception. And that is that we are not in competition with anyone. We as believers just want to be better than we were yesterday. And that is confidence. We push ourselves for our akhirah, for our Allah, for building a brighter future for ourselves, for our children. And again, the intention is always, as Hafiz ibn Hibban mentions in principle number 2, that it's about the akhirah, it's about preparing and being the best servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we can be, that will give us success, inshallah. Jazakallahu Khair. Thank you for bearing with me for a few minutes. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspire us with these, and not only inspire us, but infuse within our lives the knowledge of this aspects of character and of of character development and things like this, so that we may prosper, inshallah. We will have the Kahoot, inshallah, next week for both these topics, which was humility and vanity and pride, inshallah. We will do it next week, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.